efficiently, automatically the conservation will automatically take place, as Professor Agrawal had already mentioned, that energy saved is energy produced. So keeping that in mind, this NMEEC, Triple E, this was also become the second mission after National Solar Mission. The second mission was the National Mission on Enhanced Energy Efficiency that was launched in 2008. And in 2009, a public sector undertaking was created, EESL. So to focus on solution-driven innovation with no subsidy or capital expenditure to act on energy efficiency. So this EESL has been doing a tremendous work actually in promotion and propagation of energy efficiency measures all across the world. And of course, we all know in 2015, the Paris Convention of IPCC was held, wherein specific targets were given for renewable energy in the country, where we have specifically said that we will be having 175 gigawatt of power generation capacity using renewable energy by 2022. And of course, now in the recent Glasgow Convention of IPCC, we have specifically now pledged to have 500 gigawatt of renewable energy capacity by 2030. So all these measures are part of both energy conservation, we can also say energy efficiency, and we can also say renewable energy development in India, which in turn basically is reducing our dependence on conventional fuel, which is basically the petroleum products or coal or gas. Now, if look at the functions of various entities which were created actually, the first was the Central Electronics Limited. And we all know basically most of the persons who have been working in the area of renewable energy, they know Central Electronics, but their ambit is quite big. Of course, now the CEL is going for disinvestment, so I do not know who will take over CEL in due course of time. But that's what was the mandate of CEL. Then the PCRA. This PCRA has a specific role to formulate strategies and promote measures to accelerating conservation of petroleum products, leading to environmental protection, energy security, and sustainable development. So, though initially when the PCRA was set up, the mandate was larger in a sense that it has to look after all the energy conservation measures, but basically driven by the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Naturally, the focus remained on conserving the petroleum products by way of creating a mass awareness among masses about important benefits and methods of conserving petroleum products and clean environment by enhancing information and capacity building. Of course, R&D becomes the key aspect of each and every organization created within the government setup, because without research and development, you cannot develop actually good technologies, energy efficient technologies. And that's why the R&D was also part of the PCRA mandate. And of course, it has also been creating a linkage between different institutions, including the academic institutions, to fulfill the mandate given to it And it has also been providing the training and technical advisory services, and parallelly, it is also working as a think tank to the Government of India for proposing policies and strategies for petroleum conservation and environment protection aimed to reducing excessive dependence on oil. So practically the role of the PCRA is to some extent confined to reducing the consumption of oil products. So various steps have been taken by PCRA in different sectors. In fact, if we go in deep into the working of the PCRA, we will find that there are different divisions which deals with the agriculture implements, which deals with road transport, which deals with domestic sector, particularly in consumption of domestic fuel made, be it kerosene. At one point of time, they have come up with a very good energy efficient kerosene lamp. I am forgetting the name of that lamp basically, but it was a very efficient kerosene lamp, kerosene burner basically, stove, because I still remember till late 80s actually, most of the people have been using the kerosene as a main fuel, particularly in the urban area. And later on, of course, this LPG movement have started. I still remember in our home in district Nainital, Haldwani, the LPG came sometimes in 1986 or 87. Till that time, of course, because we were from the forest department, we had been using the firewood as a main fuel. So, so the PCRA had been working mainly on this thing. So as on today, they have been running these 4 programs. The first is the fuel efficiency improvement program, and under this program actually they have identified in bus depots 10% lowest performing buses, and also the drivers actually which are not good, which do not have good driving habit, and they have been performing, training them, and they have been improving the efficiency of those buses by way of suitable modifications. And it has been observed that there is definitely an improvement in this fuel efficiency by about 30% by way of these measures which the PCRA have been implementing through fuel efficiency improvement program. The second program is, of course, the part of National Mission on Enhanced Energy Efficiency of Bureau of Energy Efficiency, under which the perform, achieve and trade, this PAT model basically, which is being, PAT program is being implemented in different industries, and market-based mechanism to enhance the cost effectiveness of improving the energy efficiency in energy intensive industries. In fact, when I was mentioning about Energy Conservation Act, in that there were 15 industries, the name I'll come later on. In those industries, it has been made mandatory that they have to do a performance audit actually, energy audit of, and then start implementing the energy efficiency measures within its campus. So the PCRA also undertakes such type of activity. It also provides consultancy for implementation of ISO 50001 2018 standard, which is an energy management system implementation standard. And It is a process through which progressively energy efficiency is achieved, and this assert an culture of energy efficiency. In fact, in both these PAT and this consultancy ISO 50001 2018 standard, they have been doing it actually in a sense of ESCO mode sort of thing, in which they have been replacing actually some of the implements, and it has been observed that within 2 to 3 years, the payback period comes. So that's what is the advantage of this thing. And of course, this Saksham program, it is basically a nationwide massive awareness program of which, of course, educational institutions are also the part of this program. They have been organizing the debates and competitions and all those types of activities. And it's basically a national year-wise program which chalked out, and then they implement it through various agencies. So that's what the PCRA have been doing. And as far as Energy Conservation Act, as I have mentioned, that the Bureau of Energy Efficiency was created as part of Energy Conservation Act. One good thing actually, what was the difference between this? I have been telling for long actually that the difference between the ministry, working on Ministry of Power and Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. In fact, we could not come up so far as an act for renewable energy, a separate act for renewable energy. In fact, we always have been taking shelter of Electricity Act for promotion of renewable energy. But in Ministry of Power, whatever they have been doing, they have been giving it a backing through an act. So the Bureau of Energy Efficiency has been created by way of Energy Conservation Act 2001, which defines the role of central government, state government, as well as the Bureau of Energy Efficiency. And the main role of BE is to coordinate with designated consumers, designated agencies and other agencies, recognize and utilize the existing resources and infrastructure in performing the functions assigned to it by or under the act. So this word is very important. Means if there is an act and you are doing it under that act, it empowers you to take all sorts of action, including the penal actions. So that's very important actually. And in this Energy Conservation Act, as I have mentioned, that 15 specific industries or establishments have been set up, which have been energy guzzlers in a sense. So these are the aluminum industry, fertilizer, iron and steel, cement, pulp and paper, chlor-alkali, sugar, textile, chemicals, railways, port trust, transport sector, petrochemical, petroleum sector, power sector, and commercial buildings and establishments. So these entities have to get the energy audit done, and they have to maintain actually the energy consumption data, and independent energy auditors have been auditing it, and this energy auditor to impanel energy auditor is also the responsibility of Bureau of Energy Efficiency. So in a sense, you see that for energy conservation or for energy efficiency, there is a legal framework which has already been created within the country. While for renewable energy, that type of legal framework is not available. Whatever is legal framework available, that is within the Electricity Act, and under the Electricity Act clause 63, basically, we have been basically implementing the renewable energy power generation projects. So these are the major promotional functions of the BE, which is basically to create mass awareness and disseminate information on energy efficiency and conservation, And they have been organizing various training programs for public as well as for specialists in the techniques of efficient use of energy and its conservation. They have also been providing the consultancy services in the field of energy conservation. Research and development, as I have mentioned, every entity, it's the basic responsibility of every entity to promote the R&D for so that the good technologies are developed, the energy efficient technologies are developed. Then the main role is basically to develop the testing and certification procedure and promote testing facilities. Because on the one hand, we have various standards which are upgraded, of course, time to time. But there should be an institutional framework to have the testing and certification network within the country. Earlier, there have been only the CPRI which have been doing such type of thing, but now there are so many other bodies which have been doing such type of thing, including the PCRI. Then formulate and facilitate the implementation of pilot projects and demonstration projects, promote use of energy efficient process equipment, devices and systems, take steps to encourage preferential treatment for use of energy efficient equipment and appliances, promote innovative financing. This is again a very important thing, means every energy efficient system that has some cost associated to it. And when some large entity is going to actually take advantage of those energy efficient systems, they have to make some extra budgetary provision. And so from where this financing will come? So the BE also promotes such type of financing, means facilitate actually in providing such type of financing. Then prepare educational curriculum and implement international cooperation. So these are the major functions which the BE have been doing. And as far as the renewable energy, which is basically to do away with our conventional fuel and in a sense help in conserving the use of the conventional fuel. There are different functions actually which the ministry have done. From 1982 to 2008, the focus was mainly on the social aspect, and the decentralized power generation or decentralized use of renewable energy was the focus. And mainly at the initial stage, of course, it was the demonstration program, the National Solar Photovoltaic Demonstration Program, National Biogas Development Program, National Program on Improved Cook Stove, Energy Complexes and Energy Villages, IREP. So these were the main programs which were being run by the ministry from 1982 to 2008. But in 1990, the focus shifted from demonstration to the commercialization, and that's why the resource assessment was also done. And this has facilitated actually in shifting actually of generation of electricity, grid connected electricity, using the renewable energy, because earlier the decentralized use of renewable energy was the focus. But after this National Action Plan on Climate Change, which for which the driving force was the climate change mitigation measures as well as the adaptation measures. So this National Action Plan on Climate Change, these 8 missions are there, in which the National Solar Mission and Enhanced Energy Efficiency, These two are the main missions which are specifically dealing with the energy, but the other missions have also been dealing to some extent on the conservation aspect. In a sense that the National Mission on Sustainable Habitat have been talking about energy efficient buildings. National Water Mission have been talking about water conservation and then sustaining the Himalayan ecosystem, of course, which is basically an adaptation strategy. National Mission on Green in India is also an adaptation strategy, and National Mission on Strategic Knowledge for Climate Change. So these all to some extent are related to energy, because the energy is the main basically culprit in the global warming basically. So in terms of National Solar Mission, you all know that initially the target was 20 gigawatt of grid connected solar power generation by 2022, which was thought to be a very gigantic sort of target, huge target, whether everybody was susceptible, whether we would be able to achieve this or not. But there was a shift basically which again took place in 2015, wherein India made a bold step by committing to reduce the emission intensity of GDP by 33 to 35% from 2005 level, and for having at least 40% of electric power installed capacity from clean energy sources by the year 2030. And a specific target of 175 gigawatt was announced at that time, and against which the solar was 100 gigawatt, wind was 60 gigawatt, biomass was 10 gigawatt, and small hydro was 5 gigawatt. So these were again a paradigm shift have taken place. So in a sense, if you look at the initial phase of promotion of renewable energy was based on decentralized technologies or decentralized applications of renewable energy. But now it has become a centralized source of energy, generating electricity, wherein you may see a solar park of capacity of 5,000 megawatt or 10,000 megawatt. That type of centralized power plants are being set up at different places within the country, and by way of National Green Energy Corridor, the power is being supplied to different the electricity, it has become the main generator now after thermal. The renewable is the second largest installed capacity within the country, and the large hydro becomes the third one. So this is a sort of repetition, and of course by now from renewable we have this is the old slide, we already have reached up to 105 gigawatt, and if we add that 45 gigawatt of large hydro, which now being counted as renewable, though internationally the large hydro had already been the part of the renewable segment, but in India actually we had fragmented it in the large hydro or the small hydro, but now the large hydro are also clubbed as part of the renewable. So the total capacity of renewable within the country have crossed the 150 gigawatt, which is basically that 40% target what we have been talking about 2030 has already been achieved. Even as on today, the 40% of our total installed capacity is from renewable. And if we look at now, in a sense, you can see it from the conservation aspect also, and you can also see from climate aspect, climate change or mitigation aspect also, that the annual addition of the power generation capacity within the country, if role of different sources, if you look that the coal is 3479 in 1819, while the renewable had 8532 megawatt. So now the renewable capacity addition is way ahead than that of the conventional power generation capacity addition. And in fact, by 2030, around 68,000 megawatt of coal-based power plant will be shut up within the country, while the renewable target, as you all know, have already been announced to reach up to 500 gigawatt, meaning by it's almost 8 to 9 times that of the capacity addition of through coal-based power plant. And if you look at the PLF aspect of coal, which used to be something around 70, 80, or to some extent 90 also in some time, have reduced now to 52%. So in a sense, the consumption of coal is now also reducing by way of large scale penetration of renewable energy within the overall electricity generation segment. So in a sense, the conservation aspect is to some extent is being filled already. So in a sense, the drivers actually for renewable energy, which used to be energy at one point of time when we started our renewable energy movement, it was basically the providing energy to each and every person. That was the goal, means the driving force. But today, actually, the renewable energy movement, the driver is practically the climate aspect. But as you can see that renewable energy can reduce the urban air pollution, which is among the greatest in the environmental threat. So we have been talking about the environmental aspect time and again, but ultimately it is providing the better energy services to the masses and clean energy services to the masses in a most efficient way. And even the generation efficiency, if we look at the PLF of wind used to be 20 to 25% at one point of time when during 90s or early 20s, have now enhanced to even 41%. And even in the solar photovoltaic, which used to be, means the module efficiency used to be 14 to 15%. Now, at least we are getting something around 21% efficient solar photovoltaic modules. So in a sense, the energy efficiency means efficiency of those modules are also improving. So which in turns have been giving us the efficient way of using the renewable energy, and clubbed with various other programs of which I'll be coming a bit later. We see that a lot of improvement have taken place in the efficiency measures or in terms in conserving the energy. And in fact, I was looking at means how much electricity actually is being generated by the renewable energy sources. Electricity was generated actually in 2021, 147.27 billion unit of electricity was generated. And in terms of coal consumption, if you convert it into this, then 92 million tons of coal, if this much of electricity was to be generated by coal power plant, thermal-based power plant, then 92 million tons of the coal would have been consumed in the year 2021, which have to some extent was saved by way of whatever we all have been have generated in 2021 through the installed capacity at that time. Okay, now the capacity has already increased by around 17 gigawatts since then. So naturally the coal consumption will come because our demand is to some extent is stable, though in due course of time we are expecting to have something around average 350 gigawatt or 360 gigawatt of baseload demand by 2030, and at that time, our total installed capacity is expected to be 750 gigawatt, against which 500 would be coming from this renewable sources of energy, and remaining 250 to 300 gigawatt will be coming from conventional thermal power plants, including the 68 gigawatt of new power plants. Of course, some of the power plant will have lived their life by that time, and that's why the capacity would be somewhere around 250 to 300 gigawatt. So in a sense, if you look at, and those power plants will also have the energy conservation measures in that, because the combined cycle sort of means good, efficient technologies will be used in the new power plants, and that's why the coal consumption will be less. So the other initiatives actually, other than this is of course which the government have launched, and which we all have now become accustomed to, means almost in all our homes we have been using the LED lights, we have been using efficient fridge, we have been using efficient star level fridge or air conditioners or water heaters and all those types of things. So the Ujala program, Unnat Jyoti Affordable LED for All Ujala program, which have per annum 47.98 billion kilowatt hour per year. This was the energy saving by distribution and use of 37 crore LED bulb. And now you can pretty well judge that if this much of electricity is saved, then lot of coal consumption have in a sense reduced, and we can say it's a conserving measure. Then National Motor Replacement Program, NMRP, to create an infrastructure of fuel supply for high efficient motors adhering to IE3 standards. In fact, this is being done in terms of a sort of RESCO model sort of thing, wherein this EESL have been providing them, and then whatever saving is there through them, it is getting back the payback, and it is expected that something around 2 to 3 years, the cost of the replaced motor is already replenished actually. And the street lighting national program, you might have observed that all the old street lights are now being converted into LED based street lights, and 7.72 billion unit per annum through 1.14 crore actually, I should have I forgot actually writing this, 1.14 crore of street lights have so far been set up, which has a potential of 7.72 billion unit per annum electricity saving, and it is also helping in 1286 megawatt of peak demand saving. Similarly, the electric mobility, you all are aware of that. Now the government has been promoting this electric mobility. A large fleet of electric vehicles are now being coming, and lot of charging stations are being created. And this is to some extent will also help in foreseeable problem which the country may face actually by way of large penetration of renewable energy, particularly the solar energy, when the peak of solar energy comes at noon time, while the peak of actual demand comes at sometimes in the evening. So the surplus which will be available at that time can be used for charging the electric vehicles at different places, including the parking slots. So that's the electric mobility in a sense. Means if this will be done through renewable electricity, naturally the coal consumption will come and will also act as a energy conservation measure. Then agriculture demand side management by way of providing the improved irrigation pumps. And of course, if I club it with the Kusum also, then the figure will be something different. But just by way of energy conservation measure being, or the energy efficiency scheme being run through EESL, 204.92 million unit per annum electricity is saved through 79,123 pumps installed so far, and 37.945 megawatt peak load saving also takes place because of this thing. Then of course the building codes, we all know that the green building codes now being implemented, and there are certain buildings which have come up with the green buildings. So energy efficient buildings wherein the energy efficient consumption within the building have reduced. That is the another program which is being run. Smart meters now being put to have a better metering actually, and this is, I should not say it in the energy efficiency measure, but yes, efficiency in terms of DISCOM, we can say that these are in a larger perspective. Of course, the smart meter will also facilitate energy efficiency or energy conservation measure. Then, of course, star level electrical gadgets promotion, this is also part of that. Now the new movement is being run through bio-CNG or this efficient biogas, then of course syngas, those type of things are all, and the green hydrogen in due course will also, and the green, when I say the green hydrogen, the hydrogen produced using the surplus electricity from renewable energy, and that will help actually in reduction of our petroleum import of petroleum products. So if you look at the electric mobility, use of biofuel, use of bio-CNG, and this green hydrogen, ultimately our import bill will come down, and naturally the petroleum consumption will reduce. So in a sense, a comprehensive program is being run by the government, and we all have to be the part of this. We all have to be, as an educational institution, it is our responsibility actually to educate the masses to go for efficient energy efficient devices, so that the consumption of energy in those thing is reduced, and which will in turn also help in improving their saving the money actually in terms of the billing they have been doing. In fact, in my home, I had done actually, because I have a small solar power plant on my roof, and my critical load, that is the light, fan, and of course this computer, fridge, that is basically being run through that thing. And I also have observed that my peak load, if I switch on all my gadgets, means my washing machine, all my lights, all my fans, everything, then my load doesn't come, means it comes to be 1.12 kilowatt only. And usually, you know, in a smaller family, if your light and fan use and you are using this LED, then your load comes to be less than 200 watt, which used to be something around 700 to 800 watt at one point of time. So by way of using this thing, my electricity bill has already been reduced, which used to be something around 3,000 to 4,000 rupees per month, has now, I have been observing it actually, has come down to 1,500 to 2,000 range. Maybe in summers it may go to 2,500 or something like that, but otherwise it's within, means quite less than what I have been paying some 3, 4, 5 years back. So that's what I wanted to convey. Thank you, and I'm happy if any question is there.
Thank you very much, sir. I think you have covered all the aspect on the energy conservation, how we can save the energy, and as Professor Ashish Agrawal sir, and you have already covered that we can save the energy and we can start this from our house. Now, I would like to invite our Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Satyakam sir, for his presidential address. Professor Satyakam sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ashish Sanjay Agrawal जी. आज के मुख्य अतिथि और मुख्य वक्ता डॉक्टर पीसी पंत साहब, निदेशक स्कूल ऑफ इंजीनियरिंग टेक्नोलॉजी प्रोफेसर आशीष अग्रवाल और सभी साथियों, आदरणीय कुलपति महोदय के आशीर्वाद से आज का यह कार्यक्रम आयोजित किया गया है और आज का जो वक्तव्य हम लोगों ने सुना डॉक्टर पंत का, वो बहुत ही उपयोगी और बहुत ही सार्थक है. जो अंतिम बात डॉक्टर साहब ने कही कि शुरुआत हमें अपने घर से करनी है और उन्होंने अपना उदाहरण प्रस्तुत किया. डॉक्टर साहब, मैं यहाँ बताना चाहता हूँ कि अभी 2 साल पहले इंदिरा गांधी नेशनल ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी में हमारे कैंपस में 500 किलोवाट का हमने सोलर एनर्जी प्लांट लगाया है और निश्चित रूप से उससे काफी जो ऊर्जा है उसकी बचत हम लोगों ने की है. पैसे की भी बचत होती है, लेकिन पैसे का बचत से ज्यादा महत्वपूर्ण है कि हम ऊर्जा का बचाव करते हैं, सेव करते हैं एनर्जी को, और उससे बहुत दूरगामी उसका प्रभाव पड़ता है. जैसा कि आपने पूरे अपने भाषण में बताया कि किस तरह से पूरा पर्यावरण निर्भर करता है, एक के दूसरे के बाद जो चेन बनी हुई है. तो निश्चित रूप से हम लोगों को कोयले से और जिन जिन स्रोतों से बिजली बनती है उनसे मुक्त होना होगा, जितना ज्यादा हम लोग मुक्त हो सके. तो जो प्रदूषण है वो प्रदूषण भी काफी हद तक दूर होगा, क्योंकि जिस इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का हम लगातार उपयोग करते हैं वो अगर सौर ऊर्जा से करें या वायु ऊर्जा से करें, जल ऊर्जा से करें, तो निश्चित रूप से वो हमारे लिए उपयोगी होगा. और इसके लिए मैं ये जानता हूं कि चूंकि हम लोग संसाधनों के उपयोग के लिए हम लोगों ने अपने जो परंपरागत ज्ञान है उस परंपरागत ज्ञान को हम लोगों ने तिरस्कृत किया और सूर्य, जल, पृथ्वी, वायु ये जो हमारे एनर्जी के सोर्सेस हैं, उनका हम लोगों ने उपयोग करने की बात नहीं की, क्योंकि हम जानते हैं कि हम कोई भी मंत्र पढ़ते हैं, कोई भी ऋचाओं का उद्बोधन करते हैं, उच्चारण करते हैं, तो उसमें सबसे पहले हम सूर्य को ही नमस्कार करते हैं, प्रकृति की शांति की बात करते हैं, प्रकृति के उद्बोधन की बात करते हैं, और अब हम फिर उस ओर मुड़ गए हैं। सरकार की जितनी भी योजनाएं हैं, डॉक्टर साहब ने सब योजनाओं के बारे में बताया, और निश्चित रूप से घर और दफ्तर दोनों ही जगहों पे ये जागरूकता होनी चाहिए। मैं डॉक्टर साहब से ये निवेदन करूंगा, आप मंत्रालय में भी रह चुके हैं, आप वैज्ञानिक हैं, कि जो अभी जो इनिशिएटिव हो रहे हैं, उस इनिशिएटिव में जन भागीदारी की और जरूरत है। जो जन जागरण है उसकी बहुत जरूरत है उसमें, क्योंकि मैं जानता हूं कि शहरों में थोड़ी जागृति है इस मामले में, लेकिन अभी बहुत हम लोगों को आगे बढ़ना है इसमें। तो हर एक व्यक्ति को, अगर हम जिस तरह हर एक व्यक्ति के पास एक मोबाइल फोन है, वैसे ही हर व्यक्ति के पास, हर व्यक्ति के घर में एक सौर ऊर्जा का एक प्लांट हो, एक लगा हुआ हो, सोलर एनर्जी प्लेट्स लगे हुए हो, तो ये बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि हो जाएगी। और अब इसको एक आंदोलन के रूप में अब इसको आगे बढ़ाना होगा, क्योंकि भारत एक ऐसा देश है जिसमें सूर्य की कृपा अक्षय स्रोत के रूप में बहुत ज्यादा है दूसरे देशों की अपेक्षा। किसी भी भारत के किसी भी कोने में हम चले जाएं तो सूर्य का प्रताप, सूर्य की रोशनी, सूर्य का प्रकाश हमें बहुत पर्याप्त मात्रा में मिलता है। बाकी भी जो स्रोत हैं उन पर भी और काम किया जाना है। वायु एक बहुत बड़ा स्रोत है, उस पर भी काम हो रहा है। डॉक्टर साहब ने बताया, विस्तार से बताया कि किस तरह से उसका उपयोग कर सकते हैं। जल का उपयोग किस तरह से हम लोग कर सकते हैं, ऊर्जा पैदा करने के लिए हम कर रहे हैं, लेकिन उसमें भी पर्यावरण का ध्यान रखना होगा, क्योंकि कई बार ऐसा होता है कि जब हम स्रोतों का अतिदोहन करने लगते हैं तो उनकी सीमा समाप्त होने लगती है। लेकिन सूर्य ऐसा स्रोत है, सोलर एनर्जी जिसको हम लोग कहते हैं, वो अभी अक्षय है। तो एक आंदोलन चलना चाहिए कि हर एक घर में, और जिस प्रकार सस्ते दरों पर लोगों को फोन मुहैया कराया गया और लोगों ने फोन किया, अब तो सब लोग ये जानते हैं कि कोई भी ऐसा व्यक्ति नजर नहीं आता है, शहर हो या गांव हो, जिसके पास एक मोबाइल फोन नहीं है। तो मोबाइल क्रांति तो भारत में आ चुकी है। ये एक सौर ऊर्जा की क्रांति एक भारत में अभी आनी बाकी है। लोग लगा रहे हैं, लेकिन चूंकि बहुत सारे प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स बीच में इन्वॉल्व हैं, लोगों को विश्वास नहीं होता है। देखिए, आज भी कुछ भी हो, सरकार पर लोगों को विश्वास है। जो हमारी BACS की कंपनी दिल्ली में है, उस पर लोगों को विश्वास है। तो ये थोड़ा सा आक्रामक, एग्रेसिव मार्केटिंग होनी चाहिए इसकी। मैं केवल एक ही उदाहरण देना चाहूंगा कि दिसंबर में मेरे कार का इंश्योरेंस खत्म हो रहा है और इंश्योरेंस कंपनी ने 2 महीने से मेरी जान खा ली। आपका इंश्योरेंस खत्म हो गया। अब आप न भी चाहो तो महीना भर पहले आपको करवाना पड़ेगा। इसी तरह बीएसीएस या जो भी बिजली कंपनियां हैं अलग अलग राज्यों में, उनको अगर ये दायित्व दे दिया जाए, दायित्व दिया गया है, वो काम कर रहे हैं, लेकिन इतने एग्रेसिव नहीं है वो। जैसे अगर आज मैं चाहूं कि मैं लगाऊं तो मैं ये कहूंगा कि भाई 1 लाख रुपया लग जाएगा, 1.5 लाख रुपया लग जाएगा। अरे छोड़ो, 1000 रुपया 1,500 रुपया की बचत भी होगी तो छोड़ो, कौन ये करता है। एक जो सिस्टम था वो शायद अब है या नहीं, रिस्को या क्या बोलते थे उसको, कि उसमें जो कंपनियां हैं वो लाके लगा देती थी और पैसे नहीं लेती थी, लेकिन जितना ऊर्जा का जनरेशन होता था वो 3 रुपए 20 पैसे 3.5 रुपए के हिसाब से वो कंज्यूमर से पैसा ले लेती थी। अगर ये स्कीम हर एक घर के लिए हो जाए तो उसमें ये होगा, कोई भी कहेगा ठीक है अभी हम 4 रुपए 4.5 5 6 7 8 रुपए तक बिजली का बिल दे रहे हैं, हम इस कंपनी को 3 रुपया 20 पैसा दे देंगे। तो ये स्कीम बहुत अच्छी थी। तो पता नहीं, अभी मैं बहुत ये जानकारी अभी नहीं है कि ये स्कीम अभी चालू है कि नहीं। ये स्कीम तो है कि आप लगवाइए अपने पैसे से और आपका जो मीटर लगेगा और जितना आप कंज्यूम करेंगे, जितना नहीं कंज्यूम करेंगे, आपके बिल में रिफ्लेक्ट होगा और उतना माइनस हो जाएगा आपके बिल से। इसमें लोग बहुत उत्साहित नहीं दिख रहे हैं, क्योंकि जैसे मैं आपको उदाहरण दूं डॉक्टर साहब, कि हमारे विश्वविद्यालय में घर हैं, अलॉटेड हैं घर। अब हम अगर अपने रेजिडेंट्स को ये कहें कि भाई आप अपने अपने घर में लगा लीजिए और आप इसका लाभ उठाइए, तो वो कहेंगे मेरी तो नौकरी 3 साल बची है, 4 साल बची है, 5 साल बची है, मैं क्यों लाख 1.5 लाख 2 लाख लगाने जाऊं। फिर जो अगला अलॉटी होगा उसको कैसे ये ट्रांसफर होगा, आदि आदि बहुत सारी समस्याएं। चूंकि मैं इस क्षेत्र में काम कर रहा हूं और डॉक्टर संजय अग्रवाल जानते हैं कि मैं लगातार इसमें कार्यरत रहता हूं और कोशिश कर रहा हूं कि सबके घरों में लग जाए। अभी विश्वविद्यालय में हमने लगाया है 500 किलोवाट का, अभी उसको मैं चाह रहा हूं कि 1000 1500 2000 तक ले जाऊं। लेकिन यही मुश्किलात आ रही है कि इसको कैसे किया जाए। मीटर रीडिंग में बहुत प्रॉब्लम आती है, जो प्रॉब्लम विश्वविद्यालय स्तर पर आती है, कैसे उसकी ऑथेंटिसिटी चेक की जाए, ये संस्थागत स्तर पर। लेकिन हमारे यहाँ 400 मकान हैं डॉक्टर साहब। अगर उन 400 मकानों में इस एक योजना के तहत ये लगे कि वो जो बिजली का जो सोलर लगना है उसके लिए कोई पैसा न ले कंपनी, और वो मीटरिंग करे, और मीटरिंग करके वो जिस तरह से बीएसीएस की अपना पैसा लेके जाते हैं उनको हम जमा कर देते हैं, वैसे उनका भी मीटर तो लगता ही है, तो वो भी हर महीने पैसा लेके चले जाए। दिक्कत तब होगी जब वो मकान 1-2 महीने, जब एक कर्मचारी चला गया, दूसरा कर्मचारी जब आया, तो बीच का जो समय है, मैं केवल प्रैक्टिकल बात कर रहा हूं, बीच का जो समय है उसमें जो एनर्जी जो जनरेट होगी वो 3 रुपए 20 पैसे का न यूनिवर्सिटी देने को तैयार होगी, और चूंकि खाली है तो कोई नहीं देगा। तो उसकी अगर कोई व्यवस्था हो जाए कि वो सीधा का सीधा वो चला जाए BSES के पास, और उसके लिए अलग से, और उसका फायदा BSES को मिले, तो ये दोनों चीजें अगर समन्वित हो जाए कि जितने दिन रेजिडेंट इसका उपयोग कर रहे हैं वो उपयोग करेंगे और पैसा देंगे, जितने दिनों तक उन्होंने उपयोग नहीं किया या यूनिवर्सिटी ने उपयोग नहीं किया, खाली है, तो वो सीधा सीधा बिजली कंपनियों को चला जाए और उतने दिन के लिए ना रेजिडेंट को देना पड़े ना यूनिवर्सिटी को देना पड़े। जिस तरह से हम लोग करते हैं कि एक रेजिडेंट जाता है तो उसका वो बिजली का मीटर अपना सरेंडर कर देता है। तो कुछ इस तरह से अगर स्कीम हम आपकी मदद से हम इग्नू के लिए बना सकें, तो मुझे ये लगता है कि एक बार हम 400 घर हमारे यहाँ हैं, लगभग 60-70 घर हमारे एशियाड में हैं, और इग्नू में भी और बहुत सारी संभावनाएं हैं, क्योंकि इग्नू बहुत, कभी आइए डॉक्टर साहब इग्नू, और आप देखिए कि यहाँ कितना खुला माहौल है, और सूरज की रोशनी सुबह में सूर्योदय से लेके और सूर्यास्त तक पर्याप्त मात्रा में मिलती है, चाहे सूरज दक्षिणायन हो, चाहे सूरज उत्तरायण हो, चाहे सूरज मध्य भाग में हो, बहुत ज्यादा यहाँ रोशनी मिलती है। तो मैं तो आपसे ये अनुरोध करूंगा कि कभी डॉक्टर संजय अग्रवाल जी, आपसे कहता हूँ सर को कभी बुलाइए यहाँ, और सर इसको हमारे इग्नू को देखें और यहाँ भी लोगों को जागृत करें सौर ऊर्जा लगाने के लिए। तो उसमें ये होगा कि हम लोग जो ये नेशनल एनर्जी कंजर्वेशन डे मना रहे हैं उसकी उपयोगिता होगी। तो व्यावहारिक स्तर पर इसको उतारने की बहुत जरूरत है, और मुझे बहुत खुशी है इस बात की कि आज इतना महत्वपूर्ण विषय पर हम लोगों ने बातचीत की। और डॉक्टर साहब, ऐसा है कि जो आपने वक्तव्य दिया है वो वक्तव्य रिकॉर्ड तो हो ही गया है, और इसको हम अपने चैनल्स पर भी, ये सीधा प्रसारण हो रहा है उसका, हमारे फेसबुक पर हो रहा है, ट्विटर पर हो रहा है, यूट्यूब पर हो रहा है। हम इसको बार बार चलाएंगे अपने ज्ञान दर्शन पर भी, और जो हमारे और 5 चैनल हैं स्वयं प्रभा, उस पर भी चलाएंगे। लेकिन उससे ज्यादा जागृति की जरूरत है और सपोर्ट की जरूरत है लोगों को, कि वो इसमें आगे आए, सहयोग दें और देश को ऊर्जा संकट से बचाएं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, सबको शुभकामना इस नेशनल एनर्जी कंजर्वेशन डे, और सब लोग ये प्रण लें, शपथ लें, प्रतिज्ञा करें कि वो बूंद बूंद ही सही लेकिन ऊर्जा की रक्षा करने के लिए, और भारत को अक्षय ऊर्जा में अग्रणी स्थान देने के लिए सब लोग, हम लोग प्रयत्नशील हैं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, शुक्रिया।
धन्यवाद सर। और आपने जैसा बोला और आपके मार्गदर्शन में हम लोग कार्यरत रहेंगे, और ये तो मेरा सौभाग्य प्राप्त हुआ आपके साथ काम करने का। मैं देखता हूँ कि आप इस दिशा में कितना क्विक डिसीजन लेते हैं, और पंत सर से हम लोग काफ़ी लंबे समय से जुड़े हुए हैं। आई थिंक 2013 में पंत साहब एक बार और लेक्चर देने आ चुके हैं यहाँ पर। उसके बाद सुबह भी बात हो रही थी कि इस कोविड की वजह से आना जाना नहीं हो पा रहा है, लेकिन हम इस माध्यम से जुड़े हुए हैं। पंत सर, आपको जल्दी इन्वाइट करेंगे हम अपने स्कूल में, और जैसा हमारे डायरेक्टर साहब ने बताया भी था कि हमने MSc प्रोग्राम रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी में स्टार्ट किया है, और जनवरी 2022 से ये स्टार्ट भी हो जाएगा ये। और एक हमारा प्रोग्राम सर्टिफिकेट इन एनर्जी टेक्नोलॉजी मैनेजमेंट में भी चल रहा है। थैंक यू सर। नाउ आई वोट ऑफ थैंक्स के लिए मुझे बोला गया है। सो ऑनरेबल वाइस चांसलर प्रोफेसर नागेश्वर राव सर, ऑल रिस्पेक्टेड प्रो वाइस चांसलर प्रोफेसर आरपी दास सर, प्रोफेसर सत्यकांत सर, प्रोफेसर उमाकांत जी लाल एंड प्रोफेसर कुकरेती, एंड प्रोफेसर आशीष अग्रवाल, डायरेक्टर स्कूल ऑफ इंजीनियरिंग एंड टेक्नोलॉजी, डायरेक्टर्स एट द स्कूल डिवीजन, and most valued participants of this webinar, and my dear colleagues. it is my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion of webinar on Energy Conservation Day. I, on behalf of School of Engineering and Technology and on my personal behalf, extend my sincere thanks and gratitude to Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Satyakam sir for accepting our invitation to bless the occasion and sharing his vision with us. Sir, we are really thankful to you for your immense support to organize this webinar. We are also thankful to our Vice Chancellor for providing his vision for future endeavors of SOET and motivating us. Thank you very much, sir. I would also like to thank our chief guest and keynote speaker, Dr. P.C. Pant, Advisor, Scientist G, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, for accepting our invitation and sparing their valuable time to share their experience during this webinar. I also wish to express my sincere thanks to all the directors and heads of the school, institute, center, cells, unit, division for joining us and gracing the occasion. I would like to express my sincerely thank to Director SOET Professor Ashish Agrawal sir for his constant guidance and supervision to organize this webinar. I am really grateful to our director for providing a stimulating environment for such academic achievement at SOET. Sir, we are extremely grateful to you for the support, encouragement and guidance. I convey my gratitude to all the participants for showing their interest in this webinar. I am sure that this webinar will provide you the updated knowledge related to energy conservation. My special thanks goes to Team SOET for their support, dedication and teamwork. I would like to convey my regard to all the staff of SOET for their support. I am also very thankful to Mr. Rajesh Sharma, PIU in charge and Team COE for telecasting on IGNOU Facebook Live. At the end, I once again sincerely thank to our Vice Chancellor Professor Nageshwar Rao sir and PVC Professor Satyakam sir for gracing this August gathering for their presence on this occasion. Thank you all very much. Now I would like to request Shekhar, please play the national anthem. We will stand for the national anthem.